Okay, fine. I'll make a video about it. Jeez, you guys don't gotta beat it out of me. My goodness. Bunch of savages you guys are. There's a power creep problem in Lorcana. There's a very big power creep problem in Lorcana. I'm making this video on a random Thursday night after seeing the Dragon Madam Mim card announced. And we have problems. We have very, very big problems. Now, some of you might think this is not a problem. Some of you might think power creep is healthy. Power creep is necessary. Otherwise, the world doesn't keep spinning if there's no power creep. And that's true. There's power creep, and then there's ridiculously insane OP power creep. And I don't want to make negative news. I don't want to just be a Debbie Downer or a negative Nancy or a sad Susan. I don't want to be any of those. I just want to bring it to your attention. Okay? So let me know in the comments if you think Lorcana has a power creep problem or not. This is an open discussion. We're having a good faith discussion here. I'm just curious on feedback to see if it's just me or if it's everyone else. Cool. So let's start with the card that actually made me want to make this video. I should probably turn all this stuff off. I'm not streaming right now. All right. Madam Mim the Dragon, a 7 cost, 5/7, 4 lore, inkable boss monster with evasive. And when you play this character, banish her or return another 2 chosen characters of yours to your hand. You want to know what was the first card I thought of when I read this card? You want to know what I thought of? Not all the bounce stuff that we're seeing. None of that. No. The first card I thought of when I saw this card is this Mickey Mouse. This Mickey Mouse was the legendary 8 cost evasive 4 lore dude with a 5/5 stat total. Now, my math skills might be a little bit off, but this is just better. It costs 1 less and has 2 more defense points. That's pretty thick. It's a big dragon. Now, some of you might say, well, what about the ability? Isn't that a drawback? Don't you want to not return characters to your... Even if you exclude the fact that all this stuff is getting support with cards that want to be returned to the hand, even if you forget that, even if you think that that doesn't matter, there are so many cards that are good targets for this to go out of the hand. Anything with an on-play, or anything that's damaged, or maybe you quested with something or sung with something, and you don't want to leave them on the board suspended. No problem. Madam Mim can scoop them up and bring them to your hand. That is not a drawback. That is a win back. I made that term up. That's a huge plus. A huge plus that this card is. This card is way better than the Mickey Mouse. The Mickey Mouse, this card, is useless. Actually, like, dog doo-doo now, as of the second set. Because you can just play this. And it'll survive longer. And it's cheaper. And you get some valuable resources back to your hand. But that was not the only card I've seen on this fateful Thursday. No. Nope. Prince John, the greediest of all. Not only does it have hexproof, or ward, as some of you might call it, but its ability says every time your opponent discards at least 1 card, you can draw that many cards. So, like, there's obviously very strong examples. Take the first set where we didn't have discard payoffs. We just had cards that discarded cards. You've Forgotten Me and the Sudden Chill. Okay. Now we also have Hypnotize, by the way. We do have Hypnotize. We have another card introduced in the set that can... Where is it? That can get you a payoff. You can discard a card, draw a card. Now you draw 2 cards. Now this card is basically Pot of Greed if you have this card on the board. And Pot of Greed lets you draw 2 cards from your deck. It's pretty good. But that's not even like you could play that turn 3, play a You Have Forgotten Me turn 4, they discard 2, you draw 2, and then maybe you sing a Sudden Chill with it, discard another card, and you draw another card. Because that's not crazy. But if you think that's the extent of how stupid this card can get, let me introduce you to something called a whole new world, where each player discards their hand. Draw 7 cards. So, while you have this dude on the board, any card they discard before they draw 7, you also get to draw in addition to that. You resolve whole new world, you draw your 7, then you draw X number of cards. Is how the ruling, I believe, works. Is how Ravensburger explains it, that Rochelle chick in the Discord. Okay, so you might not think that's that bad, right? But let's say you're playing like the whole Emerald Steel Do It Again whole new world deck with this card in it now. Well, all of a sudden, let's say you draw another whole new world off your first whole new world, and you have the ability to activate it. They're discarding 7. That means you draw 14 cards. What? 14? I don't have that many fingers. 14 cards. 14 cards. You know, 14 cards. That's a some number of cards. That is definitely a number of cards you can draw in this game now. You can just draw 14 cards. You can just do that. And some of you might think, okay, but you're not going to be able to use all those cards because, you have so much ink to work with, right? Right? And that's a very valid point. Thank God a mana system exists. It's not like Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you activate whatever you want whenever you want. But no, it's not that healthy. I'll tell you that. Nuh-uh. And this whole power creep discussion, I think, started... Like, we saw the Resist Cinderella, right? We saw Resist Cinderella. When the reveals for the set were starting, we saw Resist Cinderella, and we saw Belle, and we're all here like, okay, these are good cards. Maybe the Sorcerer's Spellbook gets a little bit crazy. But what really started it all was this beast. This stupid legendary that can just ready this character once opposing character is damaged. You guys remember what the last legendary beast did? Do you guys remember that card? Let me show you what that card does. Hold on. This could be very important. I assume beast is a... I don't know what beast is. Let's go Emerald. Just humor me for a second while I bring up the beast from set 1. This legendary beast from set 1. Okay? It's a 5 cost. Uninkable 4/4 quest for 2 with rush, and when you play this character, exert all damaged characters. And then we have this beast, which is just a clear upgrade in every sense of the word. It's one more ink to play. But trust me, for that ink, it's definitely worth it. And this card can just sweep through. You can play this, and the frickin' Prince John in the same deck with Do It Agains and Fire the Cannons and all that nonsense, and you could probably kill your opponent in one turn. You really probably could, because you could deck them out, or you could just draw so many cards that a well-timed turn can just mean you quest for all of your lore with Beast almost on a single turn, which you can do now. Assuming you have the setup, which is just Prince John on the board, and this card, and a whole new world in your hand, as long as you keep drawing Do It Against whole new worlds, and as long as you have sufficient ink to do what you want to do. Okay, what's my point here? What is my point? This is becoming a problem. Now, there's a very quick fix to this. It's called a ban list. And while we can't do anything about Mana Mim right now, that's just an example of power creep that's not going anywhere. You can definitely ban Whole New World and like solve the problem. You really could. Solve one problem anyway. But like definite power creep like this is something else. Like I understand power creep. You know, if they made an 8 for a 6/6 with evasive that quested for lore with no other effects, that's power creep too. But that's nowhere near the insanity that this power creep is. Nowhere close. Nowhere close. to the recurable resources this card gives you, on top of being a cheaper boss with a higher booty. Anyway, Ravensburger, we know that they have the next few sets planned out already, ready to go, and I'm just hoping that something happens so this game doesn't run out of control. I like playing set 1 Lorcana. It's very skill-based. It's very control-oriented. I'm just playing aggro. And aggro, for the most part, can still deal with all this. Because this is a turn 7 drop, and aggro can win turn 6. Not that's a good thing, but that's just aggro. It's kind of how it is. But, you know, Lorcana, for the most part, a little die roll dependent, is pretty well skill-based right now. Cards like this threaten that, in my opinion. Like, it's not hard to return 2 things to your hand to play Mana Mim. And it's not hard to, like, get those things on the board that you want to play with Mana Mim. It's really not that hard. It's not hard. It's not hard to play freaking Prince John. It's not hard to play this card. Play a bunch of discard cards so that you draw cards. And it's really not hard to combine it with Whole New World. It's just not hard. It's not brain thought process inducing. It's not going to make you really think, is this really the best play right now? It's a problem. So we still have some set 2 cards to be revealed. And maybe there are cards in this set that fix all this. And maybe it will be okay. Or maybe Ravensburger will ban Whole New World. Or something. You know, it's still, the future is unknown. It's still probably fine. But if nothing really changes, set 2 will have shenanigans. And that really, really scares me for what set 3 has to offer.